So what I was fed was not the truth, and the yearning inside me said there is truth. And I think ICR was the first time I realized that the two come together and they support each other. They weren't in conflict at all.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creation Podcast, the show where we discuss the science that confirms Scripture. I know that you probably see that our setup looks a little bit different today, and we don't have a scientist with us today. This actually looks more like a Creation.live show, but today, this is our 75th episode of the Creation Podcast. So we have something a little special for you. We're going to introduce you to some of the team members that you may not know as well, those that aren't in front of the camera as often. So we're gonna meet them and just talk about some things that are near and dear to our hearts. So I have with me today Vicky.
Hello.
Clint.
Hey, Trey.
And Jim.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get to know these people who tend to either be behind the scenes or just less in front of the camera, and we're going to have a good time. So today, Vicky, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so you are on this panel. You are representing what generation?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yes.
Okay, so
the youngest one on this team.
Yes, so you are Gen Z. So I'd just like to hear a little bit about your experience, just kind of coming into Christianity, creationism. Let's start with that. What's your story there?
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian household, and it was at the age of 7 at Vacation Bible School that I accepted Christ. They had this path, and they made this, it was 2 ropes, and it like curved, and they made us go through it blindfolded. And so naturally we were going all off the path. And the second time we went through it, they had us follow someone's voice. And they related that to how Christ wants to guide us in our life. And at the age of 7, I really understood that. And so that was when I made the decision to follow Christ. I was really blessed to be able to go to a Christian middle and high school, and so they did not teach evolution. I know a lot of my friends went to public school, and that was just something they grew up hearing. And, even though, they were Christians, I think it's really hard to separate. I mean, when someone tells you something for so many years, I think it's just natural to be like, maybe there is at least some truth to this. Mm-hmm. And so when I would hear about, evolution and all that, it was just something that I was like, no, that's just not true. I was thankful to have Bible classes that did talk about topics of, proof that, the earth is, young, and just other aspects of creation that made sense. And so, I was really blessed in that respect. And I love ICR. I first came to the ICR Discovery Center when I was a sophomore in college. I came back here for the summer, and my mom went there earlier that year, and she was like, Vic, my life group went to this amazing museum. It's called the ICR Discovery Center. You got to go check it out. And I was like, okay. So I went, absolutely loved it. It was just a really cool museum. And I was like, I can't believe I've never been here before. And fast forward to senior year of college, and a job happened to pop up, and I was like, ICR. Yeah, I went there a couple years ago. I love that place. And so it was just God just opening the door at the right time.
Yeah, okay. So you got a job here. What do you do?
So I'm the video editor. So I do a little bit of pretty much everything. I put I've edited pretty much all the podcasts to some extent. Every single short content that you see, I put that out. I've done a lot of the promotional videos that we've put out. I'm currently working on a documentary, and I have also done a lot of the live streams. And so, I get to do a lot of things, and some photography, and I'm on camera some. So jack of all trades, I guess.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
All right. So now we know what you do. We know how you got to ICR. So tell me, what is it that just makes you excited to come to work each day? What is it that really drives you?
Yeah, I think something that's really important to me is facts. I really love to do my research and have proof for things. And I love that ICR really focuses on, the scientific evidences, but then also, the inerrancy of Scripture and how that does stand alone as well. And I just really appreciate that about ICR. And I love the mission of that. And in college, I, did feel kind of a call to ministry of some sort. I wanted to use my gifts of filmmaking to, share the gospel, to share the love of Christ, and to do it in a way where it also, kind of backs up some of my personal beliefs of like, I love, having the information of things and the facts is just really cool. And I just really appreciate that about ICR. And the people here are really great. I really love, the team up here. I have a lot of fun with them, and everyone's just really great on the team.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I assume you're not talking about Jim, but
everyone but Jimmy Jam.
Everyone but Jim. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, we'll come back to you. Thank you for sharing that. Now we're going to move on to Clint. Clint, what generation do you represent here?
Well, usually behind the camera, but it's fun actually being in front of the camera today, and I represent a millennial.
So millennial. I'm also a millennial. What led you to, what led you to Christ? What's your story with Christianity, and then by extension, creationism?
Yeah, so I'd love to share my testimony, and I was so lucky to grow up in a Christian home, and I placed my trust in Christ when I was in 8th grade, and my brother and I, we grew up making movies together, and we made action movies, and I made videos for my church, and went to college to study telecommunications. He put this passion in me to get a degree in telecommunications and graduate from Pepperdine University and study film and television and communication. So grew up making videos, studied videos at school, and I prayed that God would ask God through prayer, asking if I could have a job making videos, teaching people about the Bible. I wanted to use my talents to serve Him, but I didn't know that there's actually jobs out there, where you get paid to do that. But I prayed in faith, and I got this random call out of the blue. This minister called me and offered me a job right when I graduated to work at a church in Texas. And so I did that. And
so where were you living before that?
I grew up in Redding, California. Okay. And moved to Texas, and didn't know anybody. God blessed me from making videos from one church to taking a new job at a Christian production company called Right Now Media. And so then I started working with a team making videos for all churches throughout America. So that was just an amazing opportunity where they trained me how to make professional videos and work with influential pastors. Now I want to transition to how I got introduced to creation. And I had some good influences as a young child. Number one, my parents. My parents took me to the Alpha and Omega conference in Redding. And they had ICR speakers from ICR, and one of those speakers was John Morris. And just going as a kid and hearing him tell about his adventures of searching for Noah's Ark. God also put other good influences in my life. My parents, I saw the example of my mom, who took us to fun science secular museums, and when the park ranger talked about how evolution supports, that particular location, my mom would ask questions and say, well, what about the worldwide flood? What about creation science? And she said that not just for her kids, but for the other people in the audience. I had people in the church who taught Sunday school classes, and I was only in 4th grade, but they taught classes on creation. Mm-hmm. So they just really built that foundation I had on origins and creation. So when I got older and had doubts, I had that foundation. Hey, it can't be evolution, because I was taught why evolution doesn't work and why that's wrong and false, and also just the evidence of origins and creation. Mm-hmm. So that really built that strong foundation for me.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for sharing your story for Christianity and creationism in general. But then, of course, that leads you to ICR. So, A, what do you do here? And B, how did you get here?
Yeah, well, I'm the video producer here, and so I do most of the filming, especially the filming on location. And then I help with editing those videos too. During the pandemic, I got married, and my new wife and I went on a road trip like everyone else across America to the beautiful national state parks. And when you go to these national parks, they're beautiful, and you just see obvious evidence for the flood. But then the national parks have these signs that say millions of years. In fact, at the Grand Canyon, they have a trail called the Trail of Time, and you could walk supposed millions of years. And I couldn't believe it. And I remember standing there just thinking, I wish I could use my talent to make videos on creation, and I pray that God would give me that opportunity. And so it's amazing looking back. I'm now working for ICR, and we went back to those same national parks, and I got to film the people who I look up to are scientists talking about evidence for the worldwide flood.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your story. Like Vicky, I also have the question, what is like, when you come in each day, what makes you excited to do your work? What is that drive there?
Boy, I'm just so excited working for ICR. I grew up as a super fan, and now to work with our scientists to get the evidence out there. And my main drive is just seeing so many young people leave the church, leave the faith, and I want to make resources to help them know that you could trust the Bible. And what's exciting about creation, especially the topic of creation, is that there's always something new to learn and discover and research. And so that's why I love being here and to try to capture that on video and use a new outreach through the internet and YouTube, which I've seen develop in my lifetime. And so just to use as a resource to get the information out there, because that's one of the main resources people look at to get information and answers. So we want to provide good answers for people looking for those resources.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, now we're going to move on to Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. All right. So what generation do you represent on this panel?
Trey, I'm from the silent generation. I'm a Generation X, right? I grew up seeing the invention of VHS. So there you go. There's that. So
I remember those.
Do you remember those?
I actually do too.
I still have a VHS player just for the old stuff. Yeah. It's a long story. Anyway, so yeah, I'm from an older generation, but I think I'm kind of young at heart. I feel right at home.
I would say you're young at heart.
Okay, good.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so Jim, share with me and our audience,
Sure.
How did you come to Christ, and where does creationism fall into that?
Right. I think I'm the only one here that grew up in a non-Christian home. I wouldn't say non-Christian. I mean, both my parents went to church, but we stopped going. By the time I was 3 years old, my mom was done with church. So we just grew up public school. Everything was public education. So I just got it fed to me that way. But deep down inside, I knew there was God, and I was kind of afraid to learn more about him because I figured, this is going to take a lot of work, and I'm kind of afraid. I'd pull out these old books, these books my mom had, and I'd see these pictures of Noah and people like drowning in the flood and thinking God is all vengeance, and I was afraid of that kind of thing, but I knew it was true. So when my friends invited me to youth group, kind of as just a competition, I was for points. They brought me for points. And I just remember having such fun that I'd go home and say, I can't believe they were having so much fun in church. And something in me just felt like, yeah, I'll do that again. And we did that over and over for a while. And then and my younger brother as well. There's 5 boys, and I'm number 4. And my youngest brother and I would go back and forth to this youth group until finally I just felt this overwhelming conviction that God's real and that he loved me and that this was something I had to have settled in my heart. So because of actually 2 different friends at 2 different times in my life, I came to Christ. And it really freaked out my family. My family didn't know exactly how to take this because in my life, I was going to be an artist. I was going to draw, Spider-Man comics in New York City. My brother was a graphic artist, and this was just decided. So when I started feeling this conviction to go to, I wanted to go into student ministry because it was like, it changed my life so much. And I saw how many students also needed this. And I felt like, I can't believe you could do this for a living. It seemed like the perfect job because it also involved creativity. And my family's like, what are you doing? You're throwing everything away. You have a backup plan. Are you sure? You ministry? What are you talking about? And so I went to Bible college, and actually in Bible college was the first time I even heard of ICR, because they had I had this challenge about the flood, and someone said, you need to pick up the Genesis flood. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, have you not seen that book? It is the book. When you talk about science and flood, I mean, this stuff's already been decided. Look at this, look at the science. And I'm like, that is fascinating to me, because, not everyone needs proofs, right? A lot of people are good with just, I have faith, but I worked with students, and students, 50% of them are going to be like, that's nonsense. So, I believe in evolution, things of that sort. And so to have these resources from ICR I think they were vital at times. I just kept collecting apologetics as well, and ICR resources, because when students come up to this point where they're like, that's nonsense, I'm like, you're only being taught what either they believe or they want you to believe. I remember my high school teacher told me, that Moses didn't live to be 120 years old. Every new moon was a year in the Bible. And I'm like, first of all, you're a psychology teacher. Why are you telling me about the Bible? And second of all, that's nonsense. That means that Moses died at the ripe old age of 12. So that's not true either. So what I was fed was not the truth. And the yearning inside me said there is truth. And I think ICR was the first time I realized that the two come together and they support each other. They weren't in conflict at all. And then eventually the Lord used me and my creativity gift and the art gift and the ministry gift after I'd spent 7 years with students. And I was able to take the two together. And I took a job here in Dallas area, working for a big church and learning video from the ground up. I started doing using my art, and then started doing animation, and then finally started working on their television show. And then they started doing these large-scale videos that are 120 feet long, and I'm thinking, man, the more challenging, the better for me. I just got so much enjoyment to say, we don't know how to do this. Let's figure this out, and let's tell the story of Jesus in a way. And that I think I'm a storyteller and an animator and a communicator all in one, and I get to do that now. And so I'm really thankful for ICR. Creationism is it's just logic to me, and I think it's vital, and I love it. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you already spoiled the surprise a little bit, but what do you do? What do you do here at ICR, Jim?
Well, I think my title is motion graphics artist, or some people call it motionographer. But it's also an animator and a storyteller. And I get to edit sometimes. I work on fun projects like those where I get to tell the whole story. But I tell a bunch of little mini stories, and I think what I get to do is take a complicated topic and animate it in a way that hopefully explains it to the average person. I feel like if I don't understand it when it leaves my desk, then the audience isn't going to understand it. So I get to wrestle with the sometimes very hard topics, run down the hallway, ask the scientist face to face, and then come back and say, all right, let's make sure this makes sense. And sometimes it's fully animated, sometimes it's just text on a screen, but that's what I do.
All right. And how did you get here?
By accident. It was it was God. Actually, I was during the pandemic. I ended up losing my job. A lot of people did during the pandemic, and God was able to sustain me. It was so weird. As soon as I lost my job, a day later, I get a call saying, "Hey, do you have time for an extra job?" And I'm like, "Who told you?" And it's like the Lord was holding off getting me a new job because He knew that this job wasn't available yet. So for a year and a half, I just lived on freelance. And then I just decided, I was sending out my resume even, and no one was looking at it. And I figured out, there's an algorithm. I got to figure out how to, and I changed my resume, and instantly I got a call from ICR. I'm like, what? Wow, that happened quick. I mean, all I did, and I think there was so many opportunities for me to work somewhere else, and it just didn't happen. And so I get this call from ICR, and I thought, this is perfect, because I worked, the last job I had, I worked at a secular company owned by Christians, but it was a secular company. I felt like what I did was nice but not important. And I felt like these kind of opportunities, when they come to you, these are important. These are life-changing jobs. And I feel humbled even working at a place like this because we people give to this, and so I really I don't take it lightly. But I just think the reason I do this is because I feel like this is stuff that lives beyond me, and it's bigger than just every day. Hey, go buy a car, go buy this product. No, learn about the God who loves you and will change your life. So it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Okay, so Drive. What is it that gives you joy when you come into work each day?
Well, I don't want you to get a big head, but I really like the team. I do like our team. I think it probably is my favorite group of people to work with. It's really easy, but that's not everything. It makes it easier. I would say that I get excited about learning. Actually, I'm a learner. I'm always I like the fact that so much creationism is communicated in such technical terms. You can pick up a book and it's important we have the science. Without the science, it's just simple talk. But then you have to simplify it. And so I love the challenge of simplifying and animating. It is a storyteller all in itself. How do you communicate this in a new way? So I'm always you're always telling me, Jim, stay in your lane. Quit thinking about how to change everything we do and just change your one little video. I love
you, Jim.
I love you too, man. I love simplifying, communicating. I love having fun. And I think I'm just drawn to the fact that it matters, right? And so I want us to be better. I think Christian media is historically, I've seen it a day where Christian media was the worst thing ever. It was embarrassing to put on let me pop in this VHS tape and show you a gospel presentation. And they're like, why can't Christians do decent media? And now we get the opportunity with all the technology and all the experience to do something with excellence. I'm not the greatest animator in the world, but I want to give everything to that. So
awesome. Well, thank you all for just sharing your stories. The next few questions are going to be a little bit more open-ended, just kind of whatever comes to your mind or heart, we'll go from there. So really, I want to know, how do we as a group of media folk, that's very Texan, how do we reach the next generation? How do we do that in the current media landscape as that kind of boundary on the question? Because that could be an open-ended question for forever. But like in the current media landscape, how do we do that? How do we reach people?
But I think that's what we're doing right at this moment. We're thinking of how can we use videos as different styles to get the information out there to get people's attention. And so, ICR started this new podcast in the sense of video, and where we interview our scientists on the most recent topics, and then Creation Live, which we invite outside guests to learn about their ministry. And it's just amazing seeing not just our ministry, but other ministries, what they're doing to get the message out there and hearing their testimonies. And but I think just YouTube, for example, is a great resource, and social media to make resources for people to share. So that's my encouragement for people listening there.
Yeah, I would say to reach the next generation of people, we have to kind of go where they are on. And so that is going to be, TikTok, Instagram, not really as much Facebook.
You mean Gen Z isn't just all over Facebook?
No, I hate to break it to you, Trey. Yeah.
Jim hasn't even heard of half of these. So.
Oh, no, Jim. Oh, no. And so, we're doing some short content, and that has been, in the last decade really taken off. And that is where the next generation is. They like their bite-sized little short videos. And, we've been pushing some of those out recently of just little, facts or, information about, different scientists or even in our Discovery Center exhibit. And, just kind of putting that information out there And, that's kind of really where we need to be to reach the next generation. Because, if you're really interested in a topic, I think, people might sit and watch a 45-minute video, but majority of people, Gen Z, are not going to be doing that. And so we really need to be catching their attention and in short content. And so,
casting the net, throwing the hook out, right? Just grab them and
So we shouldn't be, I guess kind of what the question that I have is, so Gen Z, sometimes you hear like almost disparagingly, it's like, oh, they have a short attention span, so they don't even try to reach Gen Z. I feel like, so you're saying we should try to reach them, and then if they're interested, they may be more prone to dig into the longer stuff.
Yeah,
later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Gen Z, we like, certain information. We can like researching things. It's just whether we are interested in that topic. I spend hours watching videos that I'm interested in, but creation science is so niche. I know we talked about this. We're like a niche in a niche, basically, because we're Christian and we're young earth.
Yeah.
And so we really need to give young people a reason to be interested, a reason to get, on board with creation science. Why is it important? And then, kind of also like, why is it important to them?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of Gen Z, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't impact me in my life. So like, why should I care? And so that's kind of what I think we at ICR are trying to do. We're trying to be like, this is why you should care, because it really does impact the way you see everything. It impacts the way, when you're going to, let's say, the Grand Canyon and you're just walking around, you don't even realize the things that they're feeding you, with the million years walk or whatever. And so I think it is really important to like really understand that and really to get that message across. And I think if we're able to do that with the short content, then that's great. And that would be a way definitely to reach my generation and the younger ones. So.
Absolutely.
Right. I would say that it depends on why we're reaching them, right? If we're reaching people who don't know Christ, we create some kind of content that catches their attention. So then you have to go where they are. Right. And you have to also take some studying. You have to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. You have to be, and you just use your brain that God gave you and say, we're not going to reach people doing this. There are ways that we've been doing ministry for a long time, not us in particular, but everyone, where it's not going to catch Gen Z's attention at all. So, so we have to, hopefully we'll just catch that. We got to pray and let God lead us to what is it that they're looking for. Right. But at the same time, we also have to reach those that are believers that don't know that we're here, or that they don't even know how important it is to understand that there was a real Adam, that there was a real sin, and there was a real need for a Savior. They've been dismantling this thing all of our lives, the truth of Scripture, and we have the truth. So I would say that those families that leave, those singles that leave the church, once they get married, and once they have children, many of them know deep down inside, I'm a follower of Jesus and I've been denying him or not doing anything for years. If I don't get back into church and I don't get my family back into church, that's why they come as young families. All of a sudden they come back. And so the Gen Z and the young families, I think, are the audience we need to be pouring into. And they're the ones that we just need to give things that they need. We need to create content for younger audiences, and we're working on stuff with like that. We need to be more creative in the way we present ourselves. There's a lot of products we have on the back burner. Anyway, I'm just trying to be vague because I don't want to talk a lot about what hasn't happened. But just know that our heart, this whole team's heart, is to pursue those that are looking for truth and reaching those who don't know Christ. So,
Trey, I was going to mention, all of us are movie fans. We know how powerful movies and videos are, and we need to compete with the false information out there that, there's so many videos, and the evolutionists and the atheists kind of have a head start in a sense on YouTube, for example, and Hollywood, giving the negative message that God doesn't exist and things of that nature. So we want to provide resources to fight against that, and that's what's great about both long form videos, but especially these quick answer short videos, because that's really the boot camp. When you're in a college classroom and your teacher's saying, well, here's all the supposed reasons believe in evolution. Boy, I was going to ICR. I was watching those quick, short videos. I need a quick response so I could have time the next day to respond to some of these objections. And some people are big readers, and other people are YouTubers. And so we need to reach people through both mediums there.
Yeah, Clint makes a good point, because I think a lot of people, in my generation, we are so much more likely to go to YouTube if we have a question. I want to know about this. I YouTube it. My mom's generation, she's a boomer. She reads. She's like, I'm looking up an article. I'm reading the newspaper. And so,
What's a newspaper?
I don't know.
I YouTube it
Never
too,
seen
so
one of those.
that proves I'm young.
Right. And so, the fact that we are putting out a ton of YouTube videos and YouTube content and just all over social media, I think that is extremely important.
Yeah.
In my mind, I think that some of the greatest things that have been done online have been done crowdsourced, right? Where you need something and you reach out to the body of Christ, and what are the needs of the people we're trying to reach. So if you're a parent, or if you are a student and you're like, what would really help is if I had this in my pocket, if I had an app, if I had this kind of a resource, if I had a game night and I pulled something out and it just shocked everyone because we're talking about the gospel. Maybe you've got an idea we've never thought of before. I would love to see what our audience thinks, right? These are the resources, I think. These are how we can reach the next generation. I would love to hear more.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
Okay. Question about past and or future. Favorite, I guess, projects that we've worked on. We'll start with Jim, and then we'll go this way, and then I'll actually end. This is a question that I'll answer.
Yay.
Yeah.
There are some things I can't really talk about till they're announced.
Right.
But I would say the one resource that is my favorite to work on is the one that we haven't launched yet, and it's for a younger audience. And this has been on your heart for a long time. And so I've really enjoyed trying to simplify and be funny. I get to write jokes. That's sometimes fun. And when it comes out, we'll make a big deal about it, but I hope it's helpful. That's what we pray about, is it. But I get to do a lot of little things pulled away. I've done a few things for the planetarium. I like the planetarium. I hope I get to do more because it's thinking out of the box. It's like, what does this look like? On a huge scale. And then I like doing some artwork. I know you've got some of the DVDs over there. Our creation class artwork, that's fun. I like to do something that's out of the box. I don't like burning the DVDs. I'm just going to be honest. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be funny.
Which means making the DVDs.
Right.
Burning it, not having a DVD.
He lights them on fire. We have a big bonfire. It's a thing.
Yeah, that is the exact opposite.
And at that point, Gen Z's like, what? People still burn DVDs?
Yeah.
You bet.
So basically, the student project that we're working on is a lot of fun because I get to do a lot of original content. And I would say that the other thing that I'm sure Clint's going to talk about is we got to work together on a documentary, and just communicating some of the scientific facts in an animated form. I remember going back and forth with Dr. Clary about geology. I would come back and say, now show me this. Show me where the rocks go. Show me how this actually happened. And he would come back and back and forth. So finally I walked in and I set down this, and it was talking about Heart Mountain and how the flood moved it 100 miles an hour, like 30 miles. It was this amazing geologic mystery. And he watched the video and he goes, if I was emotional kind of a guy, I would cry, is what he said. And I thought, why? And he's like, because no one's ever communicated this. And so that means a lot to me because we're doing something no one's done. And it's God's truth, so it's good.
Absolutely. Awesome. Clint?
Yeah, I was just going to compliment Jim. He does amazing work in animation. And how many people get paid to make animated 3D dinosaurs for our
there's just a few
documentaries? So
just a few. I'm among the special in the club Iona. Yeah.
So to make an animated T-Rex and Mosasaur, I got to say, that's pretty amazing. Trey, I love everything we do. Everything is exciting. But I can only pick just a couple projects. And but if I had to pick my favorite, I love to travel. I'm an outdoorsy guy. So anytime we get to go on an expedition and film on location, that's my favorite thing. I was lucky to be able to help with a dinosaur dig. And so in Carved in Stone, I got to film our scientists dig up a sauropod dinosaur leg bone that's in our Discovery Center. And also, we found a Allosaurus tooth. And they even let me, they're nice enough to tell me, put the camera down, hop down here and help us dig. So that was just an amazing adventure. Another project I'm excited about is we're taking the lectures our scientists give at churches, and we're making them into high quality interview videos similar to the masterclass style or videos that you would see on Right Now Media. And so I'm really excited about these videos. For example, like in Adam or Apes, we opened up the video with some man on the street interviews. And why we did that is it shows the problem of people believing in evolution. It's just heartbreaking. So we want to show the problem so that way people want to listen to the lecture and find out the answers of how to help people who believe in this false worldview.
And also all of the DVDs that you held up, if you become a member here on YouTube or on Patreon, you get access to all of those at the Champions of Creation tier. So I'll plug that. All right. Vicky, your turn.
All right. Well, Clint actually mentioned Man on the Street, and that was actually one of my favorite projects that I got to be a part of. A huge group of us, some from the media team, communications, the scientists. We all went to UNT, and we just would ask students questions.
For those who don't know, what is UNT?
University of North Texas. Okay. And we would just ask the students questions, the scientists would. And, kind of like Clint was saying, it was showing, the problem of some students were like, yes, I'm a Christian. And yes, I believe in evolution. And then, the scientists who was Dr. Thomas and Dr. Clary, and they would just kind of give them, something for these students to think about, evidences as to why. And so that was just really impactful to get to film that, but then also get to just have other people with us from different ministries, just actively kind of sharing the gospel. It was just a really, really cool time because, I even heard, I think that a couple people came to Christ through that, and the Spirit was just there in that group, and there's power in numbers, and knowing, that everyone is, we all have the same mission, and yeah, we're there to get footage, yeah, we're there to film, but we're really there to further the kingdom of Christ. And that was just super, super impactful, getting to do that and getting to help film that and be a part of that. So that was really awesome. And then in general, I really do like editing the podcasts. I can't really give specifics. I just really enjoy learning all the information. I don't even realize sometimes that I'm just soaking all this information up until it was actually kind of funny. I went to a young adult group and they were going through questions at this table. And some of the people were talking about their concerns and just things that they always had questions about. And this guy was like, yeah, I just don't really know young Earth, old Earth. And this other girl was talking about how she had questions about Neanderthals. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I have answers. And just really getting to talk about the evidences for that and being like, we actually have a podcast on that. Here's my card. Check it out. ICR. And so that was just really exciting for me. And then I realized, as I'm telling them, and I'm able to tell them the truth. And I was so excited in doing that. And then it reminded me that's why I love working here. That's why I'm passionate about this, because these people that are at a church, young adult group, my age or older, they have questions. They don't know where to go for answers, and they're just throwing it out there. Yeah, I don't really know what I believe about this. And, and that kind of, when they have that, I don't know, it kind of opens it up for the world to tell them, because that's the loudest voice right now. Evolution's the loudest voice. And so, getting to just be able to share that based on the podcasts that I've edited and the information that I have soaked up. Because, I hear from all the scientists and they're just insanely smart and just have such great evidences. And so, yeah, I absolutely love that. And then I really like the shorts. You and me have been doing some lately, and we have a really good time. Yeah. Just, fun times going to the museum and just getting to film those. We have lots of good laughs. We have a lot of bloopers. So
that's for sure.
That's a lot of fun. So, yes. Yeah.
Okay. My favorite. I'm going to answer a question, guys.
Go for it.
So my favorite, one of them is the one that Jim vaguely alluded to earlier, that we cannot really speak about yet because it's not ready yet, but it will be, and it'll be awesome. Right now, also, I'm really excited for, we have an Ice Age documentary coming out, and writing that was a lot of fun, working with Dr. Hebert to get, I think that a lot of people don't really think about the Ice Age as like a big issue, but culture says, along with the uniformitarian ideas, that there's been a bunch of ice ages and they all last forever and humans weren't even there for them. And so it's like, it just kind of seeps into your brain if you're not paying attention. And the animated Ice Age movies, however many of them there are now. And, it's all in good fun, right? But that they are teaching kids falsehoods, despite how funny the movies may be, funny or not funny, depending on who you are. And so I think I'm excited for this more long-form documentary. Yeah. Vicky's hard at work putting that together at this point. But yeah, I'm really excited for that.
What was more fun, writing the script or writing the music?
Yeah, Trey composed the music for the entire documentary. He wrote all of it.
It's almost finished.
It's almost
have to
finished.
Shout out.
Got a couple more tracks to put together. But yeah, no, it's more fun, probably the script. More fulfilling, probably the music. But that's just how I'm wired. So I'm really excited for those to come out, and we'll have those in the not too distant future. Okay, to wrap up, I'll open up the floor. How do you, in your individual fields, or as media folk, or just in general, want to encourage people who may want to get involved in working for a creation ministry or supporting creation ministries or whatever? What would you say to people who want to get involved?
I'll go ahead. I'll just repeat. You don't have to wait. Start now. Get in the game. Look for an opportunity to use your talents to serve God. As a kid, I started making videos for the church, and when I went to different Christian schools, made videos for them for the purpose of getting God's word out. So start now. I was inspired by meeting a high school student at one of our ICR events. He told me that he started his own YouTube channel, making videos on his phone on the topic of creation. And I was so impressed by that because he's in high school, and so he's not waiting until he's older. He's using his talent to serve God right now. And not only that, but he started to volunteer at the Discovery Center and come weekly to volunteer at the Discovery Center there. So I think that's a great example for other people to follow. Whatever talents you have, music, videos, speaking, even if it's just sharing your testimony or sharing your faith on your phone, on YouTube or social media, start now to get the word out. So get in the game.
Yeah.
Animation and special effects take a lot of time. You don't want to work for Hollywood. I mean, those people have no lives. They just sleep at their desk before the movie comes out. And then it's totally unfulfilling. By the time it's over, it's just like, what have I given my life to? I believe that if you just poured your life and your talent into something that will last longer than yourself, I mean, really, in the end, I think, look around. God's given you a talent, and you're not going to be miserable doing what God has called you to do. God doesn't call you to something and you're like, oh, I have to go to the nursery and I hate kids and why am I here? But God made me. That's not the way it works. The works is God's designed you to be a special way. You're talented. And when you're finally in the sweet zone of just doing what God's called you to do, you feel the most fulfilled that you've ever felt in your life. So really, if you're seeking to be fulfilled and enjoy life and you know Jesus, then you need to understand, just ask God, where is it? Where is it I'm supposed to be following? Maybe it is just creating a YouTube channel. Maybe it is learning to do 3D and then just, volunteering that stuff so that the art form just raises across the board. Volunteer. I mean, you can have your own platform. Just use it to God's glory.
Yeah.
And I'll follow up, not just say your own platform on YouTube, but be active in your church too. A lot of people just go to church and listen and leave, and maybe even complain. But for example, if your church doesn't have a class on creation or a class on apologetics, and you like that topic, and no one's teaching it, then you should help, and you maybe ask the pastor, hey, can I teach class on that, and start either a club at your school, or teach a Sunday school class, or host a Bible study. But if no one's doing it, maybe God's calling you to do it.
Absolutely. When I was a teenager, I was the one staying up late at night, like drawing magic marker posters on the wall, because no one else was going to do advertising. No one was going to do art. It was just like, just pour it into. I'm a teenager, but I poured into whatever it was because there's a need.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think you're right. Yeah, it's not happening. Make it happen.
All right, Vicky, words of wisdom.
It's so many things run through my mind. I was going to say to the point that Jim said about, following God's will for your life. And that is really, truly the most fulfilling thing. And maybe that is, serving or working at a Christian organization. I also think it's really important to, if you're called to a secular organization, a secular company, we need Christians in those environments. We need people to be the light in the dark places. And that's really difficult, but if that's what the Lord is calling you to, then definitely take that step of faith, and ask those tough questions. Don't be afraid to maybe nicely, I think, challenge someone, bring up topics. Build relationships with people. I think that's really important, and then get to the place where you can be like, hey, have you thought about this different viewpoint? Have you thought about creation science? And so I think. Just the interpersonal relationships can just go a really long ways in that as well. And I think that's important.
Oh, that's good. Well, thank you guys for being here. It's been fun. And thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. We hope that you enjoyed this little look behind the curtain, see some of the people that make this department tick. There's more people behind the curtain than you could ever know. And it's more than just a one person thing. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done to spread the message of the truth and authenticity of Scripture. Thank you for watching. And if you want to get this podcast, the Creation Podcast, a week early, or you want to get Creation.live, which is our monthly podcast, if you want to get that 2 weeks early, you can become a member here on YouTube or on Patreon. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you are a member of the Champion of Creation tier, then you can actually stream a lot of the videos that Clint was mentioning, carved in stone, or our creation classes and other things like that. So we'll see you next time on the Creation Podcast. We want to say a huge thank you to our members and patrons. If you'd like to see your name here and unlock perks like early access to our podcasts, members-only polls and live streams, behind-the-scenes footage, or exclusive video content, links are in the description below.